Welcome everybody to a very unique edition of the Alternative F1 podcast powered by Verge Magazine. We are up at the O2, no seriously, we are actually on the roof of the O2 Arena. As ever, Andre Dixon, my co-host in this madness. How are you, sir? This is better than Liverpool winning the league.
This is almost, but not as much, but it's a very impressive view. Amazing day. The sun's came out for us, just for us, because it was raining, cloudy all week. Now it's sunny just for us. But the biggest star here,
Schiff.
Hardly.
Naomi from W Series, how are you doing?
Doing well. Finally getting to come out and see a little bit of London, and what better place to start than right here where I can see all of it. So great.
Well, we figured we needed to get you a bit more familiar with your new hometown, and of course we need an expert here. Now, for the people that might be listening audio only, this is going to be very underwhelming for you because you won't get to see the amazing sights that we're taking in. But seriously, a huge thanks to OT for making this all happen. Have a little look at how we got up here. So last weekend's Silverstone Grand Prix was a pretty spicy affair. It was fairly routine for most of it, till about 3 laps towards the end. Andre, we were back in different circumstances, but what did you think of it? What are the things you loved? What did you hate?
I mean, in order, it was a really horrible start for Hulk. Really looking forward to him getting back in the driving seat and possibly getting a podium, and then he didn't even get started, so I felt really bad for him. Much better with the actual demonstration. I thought that was really well executed.
It was more organised, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely a lot more thought put into it, and salute to Lewis and F1 for actually putting that video together. So it was really, really good. Race was like kind of,
it was all right, wasn't it? It wasn't
meh until the end, and the end was ridiculous. Like that was like straight out of a film with the tyres. Like, come on, you couldn't write a better script than that.
It was an absolute madness, and I think this is why we have Naomi to help us out here to figure out why exactly did this all kind of blow up towards the end. Tyres are popping off left, right and centre. It started with Valtteri Bottas, Carlos Sainz and then Lewis on the last lap. So as a racing driver, help us explain what made this chaos all unravel.
Yeah, well, I think the teams were looking at it, straight after the race. I can imagine that they didn't see it coming, otherwise they would have prepared for that disaster. But I think now going into the second weekend, they'll have so much more data. They'll be much more aware of the load that those tyres are taking. And the cars this year have come back a lot quicker, much more demanding, and Pirelli has brought the same tyres from last year. So those tyres are probably taking a lot more wear and load from the cars. And that's why you see, especially on a track like Silverstone, which is putting so much pressure on that front left tyre. And inevitably, some guys had the failure, some didn't. But I think going into this week, it's going to be really exciting to see how they adapt to avoid those type of issues.
What could have those drivers done any more to possibly protect those tyres? Because it felt so... Well, it was so unpredictable. Of course, Valtteri Bottas, normally his engineers say that he is less protective of his tyres compared to Lewis, hence why he went first. Max pitted. Was the strategy right from Red Bull, or do you think they got that right?
Well, coming back to your question about what the drivers could have done, I don't really think there's too much the drivers can do in that situation. Valtteri said that he didn't feel it coming at all. It came sort of all of a sudden, and they were already looking after their tyres because you saw earlier on in the race they were talking about blistering. But I think, Valtteri was really putting pressure on Lewis. Lewis had to respond with quick lap times, and they didn't really have the opportunity to relax. So I think it was unfortunate, actually, that second safety car made everyone pit a little bit earlier, potentially, than they had expected. So they were driving on those tyres maybe a little bit too long, but I think Pirelli will come back this week with softer tires, which will make things even more interesting because the tire wear will be higher. But I think we'll definitely be seeing 2 stops at least. I think it should definitely put an interesting twist on what this weekend is going to bring.
Well, it is going to be something to look out for sure. So Naomi being from W Series, they have an esports league, which you can find out a lot about wseries.com. Now, we asked Naomi to do us a little favour to help understand the demands of the Silverstone track. So Naomi's done us a little virtual lap of Silverstone, so take a look at this.
Hey there guys, welcome to my at-home Logitech racing station. So in 2020, W Series has actually started their own esports league, and we happen to be racing at Silverstone this following Thursday. So this is a great opportunity for me to give you guys a little tour around Silverstone. So what we'll do is we'll start with an in-depth lap. I'll give you guys some information, and after that we'll go into a hot lap. So without further ado, let's take it away. So as you know, Silverstone is probably one of the tracks on at least this year's calendar that demands the most load from the cars. This first corner is actually flat out in a Formula One car. One of those corners that's putting a lot of demand on that front left. Then you've got a hard braking section over here into Village. You want to hit the apex. You can let the car run wide here, but you want to be able to bring the car at least back to the middle of the track so that you can get a good run onto this upcoming straight. So here we go. So this corner is flat. Then you've got this long straight heading towards Brooklands, which I've been told is, if you head to the Grand Prix, that's the corner where you want to sit because it's very impressive. So you've got a really fast entry into the Brooklands. You can let the car run wide, but you want to, again, be able to come back, set the car up in the middle of the corner so that you can get on as early as possible because you've got another long straight section coming up after this. So that was the exit of Laffield. On the sim, you can actually cut the track there a little bit. Don't think the stewards will be impressed with that in the real world. And then you've got probably the most impressive corner on this track. In the Formula One car, this is Copse. It's absolutely flat. For us, it's a little lift and a shift down, actually. But the Formula One car, again, is going flat through there. It's, again, asking a lot of demand from that left tyre. And it heads into this, for me personally, the funnest section on this track. So this is the Maggots-Beckett's combination. Those two corners that we just drove past are flat. You'll see that on the next lap. Then you want to position the car again, sort of middle of the track, so you can get back nicely after this left-hander and get a good run through the last part of this section onto, yet again, another long, high-speed section. So as you can see, this track is very high speed, a lot of straights, a lot of fast corners, and a lot of right-hand corners, which is exactly the kind of corners, like this one here, Stowe, that are putting immense pressure on that front left. This is the corner, actually, where Alex Albon had his crash. Tricky corner. You don't really see the exit over here, so you kind of don't really know when to get on, but you really want to get on it as early as possible. And then we're heading into the last section of the track. So you've got this hard braking into sort of a very slow chicane. Interesting fact on this track, the start line is actually very early on the straight. So on a quali lap, you don't need to worry too much about how much speed you're going to lose in the straight. You just want to get to that line as quickly as possibly. So that was the tour for the first lap. Let's do a full speed lap. So this is flats. Hard braking. You can let the car run wide here, bring it back to the middle of the track, hit that apex, and get on the power as quickly as you can. Use as much track as possible always. Now we're heading into quite a tricky section. Brooklands. Fast entry. Let it run wide. Bring it back. And get on as early as you can. Wasn't too happy with that, but talking and driving is not easy. So now we're heading towards Copse, which, again, in the Formula One car is flat. For us, it's not quite, so use the whole track. Heading into Maggots-Beckett's, 7th gear, flat, flats. Woo! And you want to get on it nice and early. So, the most part of the track is finished, but you've still got some tricky corners left up ahead. We've got Stowe, which is the first one, quite blind, carry a lot of speed in. and then get on as early as you can. That was an abuse of track limits. Good example of what can happen there. And then you've got the slow chicane. Feather the throttle. And there you have it, guys. A lap around Silverstone with me. I hope you enjoyed it. And in the meantime, I'm going to send you guys back to the O2, catch the W Series race next week, Thursday. Come and cheer for me, and we'll see you next time.
So with the Emirates 70th anniversary Grand Prix coming up, we have got to look forward, and we've got to forget about all the manners of the tyres. Dre, what are we looking forward to with the second dose of the Silverstone?
Well, I think all the rust is off now with all the teams now, and I definitely feel like the drivers now, that there's a lot more overtaking attempts tried. So I'm looking forward to now, really, all the polite nonsense out of the window. Lando, come on, let's start doing more than just the last lap. Let's start doing it all the way through.
I'm going to say his performances are definitely getting us excited. The Brits have got someone else to cheer for. You know, we're very lucky to have a lot of successful British drivers. Also, Hulk can get his neck sorted out, you know, strengthen it up and all that good stuff. So a lot of demands physically, and of course, Naomi, you know too well about that.
Absolutely.
Now, is the pressure on or off Lewis Hamilton to deliver a first place finish again? Do you feel like when you get to do a race and finish first that it's nothing to lose?
Well, I mean, I think Lewis has definitely got a nice little lead now, but I think the pressure is never really off. You know, championships can change so quickly, so every extra point that you can get is going to be so important. And knowing Lewis the way he is, I'm sure he's going to be putting the pressure on himself to be on the top step of the podium again.
Now, if you were going to the drawing board, you're going behind the scenes of your team, with all the amazing stuff that happened in the last race, what would your team be saying to yourself? What kind of preparations would they make from what they would have learned from the last race?
Well, I think, you know, they're actually very lucky that they have an abundance of data now from next week. And I think they'll be going into this week straight away, focusing on the tyres, how long that expectancy is. And I think even from the side of Pirelli, you know, Pirelli will be coming to the teams with a lot more guidance. You know, maybe they're going to higher the tyre pressures, because that'll give a little bit more support to the side walls. So definitely they're going to be focusing on the tyres without a doubt. And I think the drivers will also be a little bit more responsible in terms of pacing themselves and trying to look after that left front.
Well, we have definitely got a lot to look forward to, and hopefully we get a bit more of an exciting race. Guys, I'm going to come to you first, Dre. Predictions for that podium, 1, 2, 3. How do you think it's going to hold out?
Well, Mercedes often, to me, don't make many mistakes. So when they do, then they correct it very, very quickly. So I would say it's a 1-2 with Hamilton and Bottas. And then I'm going to go out on a limb here and go Team Lando for third.
Wow. I like that, Dre. Confident, repping the McLaren flag. Always confident.
No,
the Schiff, the queen of salads, is going to disagree, I imagine. How do you feel this will pan out?
Well, I mean, I think the Mercedes are clearly in a league of their own at the moment, so it's going to be between Valtteri and Lewis, but I think Lewis has got the edge, you know, home track. I was going to say he has the crowds, but unfortunately he doesn't have that with him. But I think Lewis and then Valtteri, and I think Max has proved himself time and time again at the moment to be best of the rest. So 1, 2, 3, that's my order.
Any shock star performers, guys, coming out of this? Anyone?
Well, I mean, you know, we've been waiting for this, you know, pink Mercedes to actually really get going.
Absolutely.
So, you know, we're looking for that. I mean, besides that, I think that Ricciardo's looking to kind of, you know, get himself involved. He's not just going to cruise this year, but maybe like the battle that I always look for is between Leclerc and Sainz. You know, that's always interesting, because obviously he's trying to prove himself before he gets wears the same colours. So that would be quite interesting to look at.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to agree with Dre. The Racing Point has obviously proven to be a really good car this year. So interesting that Stroll started off really strong last week. So I think if he gets his stuff together, he could be quite up high. And Nico, obviously, let's hope.
Of course.
I'm really hoping for Nico that he could potentially get his first Formula One podium. If not now, then when? So
Absolutely. Well, Sam Wilson, our co-host who couldn't be here, of course, a massive Hulk fan. So we can only hope that Hulk can get his run out in this race and show what he can do. I actually thought that Lance Stroll was going to get third place in the last race. So that kind of shows what I know. So we also asked our friends to give us their opinions, because, you know, we couldn't all bring them up on a roof. So take a look at this. This is what our friends thought.
Hello guys, it's David Alorka here, and these are my predictions for this weekend's Formula 1 70th Grand Prix at Silverstone. I'm going for a Mercedes 1-2. That's right. Who is winning the one though? It is none other than British's very own Mr. Lewis Hamilton in first place, Valtteri Bottas in second, followed by the fast-chasing Mr. Max Verstappen in third. Listen, there's sun touching down in the United Kingdom this weekend, and I think with a plain sailing race full of sun, the Mercedes is going to be too much for anyone else. So I'm going for Mercedes 1-2 with a Max Verstappen in third. That's it. There you go. I'm out of here.
Tommo here. So what do I think? This weekend's 70th anniversary Grand Prix. Look, real talk, it's hard to look past Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, top three. But that's a bit boring. So in terms of my a little bit more out there prediction, I'm going with Max P1, Lewis P2, and as long as he doesn't punt him off again, Alex Albon P3. Alex is my boy, man. Colchester's finest. Got to support. Fingers crossed. It's got to happen eventually. Come on, Alex.
What's up, everybody? It's Andy, or AJ3, and my predictions for the 70th anniversary Grand Prix at Silverstone this weekend. I think it'd be crazy to not say that Lewis Hamilton's going to win again after how, in the end, crazy the win was, but how so far out in front he was. With the two-stop strategy this weekend, his tyres should be fine, and I just can't see anything other than Lewis absolutely storming a win. The one thing I am hoping for is that Lando can get on the podium for his first podium finish. That'd be absolutely amazing. Probably more likely to happen if there was a bit of rain, which the weather is looking absolutely glorious, but we seen the tyres last week. Anything can happen, and that is what I've got my fingers crossed for. But I'm going to say Lewis is just going to absolutely storm it.
Hi everyone, so my predictions for the 70th anniversary British Grand Prix is another win for the main man, Lewis Hamilton. An exceptional drive by him last weekend. Can't see him being beaten at all, to be honest. Valtteri, he was very unlucky, so I could see him, with luck on his side, finishing in second place. I just don't think the Red Bulls have got the pace to get past the Mercedes. So I would say Hamilton first, Valtteri Bottas in second place, and Max Verstappen rounding out the podium in third.
Hi, I'm James Green, and my predictions for this coming weekend's Formula 1 Grand Prix, the second one at Silverstone. What strange times we're living in. Oh, it's got to be Mercedes 1-2 again. Lewis Hamilton again to win, followed by Valtteri Bottas. As long as their tyres hold up. I hope, though, the tyre now situation is going to get even more interesting because the weekend's weather is going to be even hotter. But waiting in the wings for any Mercedes slip-up, it's got to be Max Verstappen. He's always there. He's always kind of there, waiting, pushing them as much as he can in that Red Bull machine. So that's my top three: Hamilton, Bottas, and Max Verstappen. But it's going to be a cracker again. I can feel it.
What's up, guys? It's Dan, Matthew, and Nico from the Tribus podcast doing some predictions for the second Silverstone GP. Matthew, you're up first.
Hey, yeah, so I'm reckoning, well, since Austria, I've just been rooting for Lando Norris the whole time with his podium. So I'm just going to say Mercedes 1-2, Bottas, Hamilton, and then Lando Norris third, because, you know, he deserves to be up there again. I love that.
Bottas in front of Hamilton, fair enough. I was going to give it, I'm going to give him Mercedes 1-2 as well. And then I'm actually going to say Max. Max is gonna come in third, and then Norris is what I'm gonna say. I'm rooting for Norris too.
Norris, come on.
See, I'm gonna go because up until last week, Max had only had one podium at Silverstone. But I'm gonna go against the status quo. I'm gonna go Hamilton first. I'm gonna go Max second, and I'm gonna go Lance Stroll in third. And I'd love to see Seb get up the leaderboard as well.
Sadly, Sam Wilson couldn't be with us today, but here is 5 things that he is looking forward to this weekend's Grand Prix.
Hey guys, I'm gutted I can't be with you at the top of the O2 today. The views look incredible and those purple microphones look sick. But here's 5 things I'm looking forward to at the Emirates 70th Anniversary Grand Prix at Silverstone. Number 5, Lando Norris. We've seen him have a stellar start to the season, including that podium and a couple of top 5 finishes. But this week he's come out and said he's surprised at Renault's pace. So let's keep an eye out for him chasing Danny Rick down, especially after Danny's P4 last weekend. It could be, as Carla says, a spicy midfield. Number 4, Seb Vettel. So we saw last weekend Seb was getting pretty pally with Lawrence Stroll, including a cheeky little fist bump in the grid. He also got into Otmar Safnauer's Ferrari, apparently. So we could see an announcement for Vettel going to Aston Martin next year, this weekend. However, Checo's still in isolation, and there's a lot of people that think that Racing Point wouldn't do that to Checo while he's in isolation. But let's keep an eye out, because we could get a couple more rumours or even a confirmation this weekend. Number 3, the curb change. So, Silverstone have changed the curb at Chapel. Now the reason for this was apparently some carbon debris getting stuck in the curb and causing some pretty deep cuts to tyres. Christian Horner said this after the race, that when they took the tyre off Max's front left, it was pretty cut up, and we did see some pretty significant tyre failures at the end of last week. It was a great race and it did cause for some drama, but we don't want that to happen every single race, because otherwise it just gets a little bit boring. So the new curb will hopefully stop drivers running off and also protect the tyres a little bit more. Talking of tyres, number 2, tyres. Pirelli have changed the PSI in this weekend's tyre. The reason for that was last weekend's race saw 3 insane tyre failures, which realistically made the race so much better. But they don't want that to happen again. And along with the curb change at Chapel, they've increased the PSI to ensure that there's more integrity in the rubber, as well as also changing the tread, which we're going to get a softer compound this weekend. So we could see a couple of tyre failures, or we may not. Who knows? There's not been much testing of this new PSI until today, so we'll find out, and definitely find out in P3 tomorrow in qualifying. Number 1. Now you guys know he's my favourite driver, but last weekend when we saw the return of the Hulk, I was so excited. I was then also gutted that he didn't get a drive. This weekend, I'm hoping that he's going to be back in that car and really gunning for a good place in the race. We know Hulk wants to come back for Formula 1, and this is his ideal opportunity to show people that he's got that race pace, he's got the qualifying pace, and he is a good driver. We know he's a good driver. I also want him to get a podium and a good chance at Racing Point, so we'll see. There's seats left at Haas, they're not confirmed, so if he does good this weekend, we could see him back on the grid. So there we go.
Now, I'm afraid that is all the time we have for today. I'm gutted that we can't stay up on his roof because it's lovely. I mean, it's a short walk from me home, so this is nice and easy. So can't complain about that. Thank you so much, Dre and Naomi, for joining us. Did you enjoy the roof?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Absolutely.
Big up to O2 for making this happen.
And to you guys for bringing me up here.
Oh, mate, well, you know what? We've turned guest into panelist to expert because, to be honest, what do me and Dre know? What does me and Sam and everyone else know? So we appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching us up at the O2 on the roof of the O2 Arena. An absolute madness. Thank you so much for joining us, and we shall see you next time.